All right, now to an embarrassing foreign affairs blunder by the Albanese government that soured relations between Australia and Israel, and of course it was sparked by this story in The Guardian. Now, it concerns Labor's decision to overturn the country's recognition of West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, a position that the Morrison government had instituted in 2018. Now, to be clear, Labor had opposed this move ever since it was announced. It made no secret of its intention to repeal this particular decision. What made it highly controversial was, of course, the way they went about it. It began when The Guardian queried the government while the following was still on the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade's website. Let's have a look at this. Consistent with this long-standing policy, in December 2018, Australia recognised West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, being the seat of the Knesset and many of the institutions of the Israeli government. Australia looks forward to moving its embassy to West Jerusalem when practical, in support of and after the final status determination of a two-state solution. Now, that was on Monday. By Tuesday, this had changed altogether when Cabinet agreed to formally overturn it. And as Seven's Mark Riley hinted, the events leading to this were farcical and amateurish.
Penny Wong's announcement on one of the Jewish calendar's many holy days.
It's just highly disrespectful and, quite frankly, offensive.
The process of the decision was unusual, to say the least. Recognition of Jerusalem disappeared from the Foreign Affairs website last night ahead of the announcement after a journalist pointed out it wasn't the new government's position. Senator Wong's office last night denying an official change in position, and this morning confirming it after being agreed by Cabinet.
That happens sometimes.
And so to make matters worse, Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong, instead of accepting responsibility for the stuff-up, she implied that the fault lay with anyone but her. Others weren't convinced.
You know, there was no, I'm not, and we're not going to sort of blame anybody for it.
Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid did, tweeting, "We can only hope that the Australian government manages other matters more seriously and professionally."
Ouch. Diplomatic rebukes don't come any stronger than that. But incredibly, one media organisation sided with Wong instead of holding her accountable. Guess which one?
It turns out that what happened is that basically officials at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade were a little bit forward-leaning, if you want to use a euphemism, amending it in anticipation of the government making that decision in line with the Labor Party's platform. But an actual decision was only made by Cabinet this morning and then announced subsequently by Penny Wong. So, yeah, the rollout here has been messy. It sounds like DFAT did jump the gun a bit, but the Foreign Minister wasn't trying to carpet anyone, simply saying these things happened, and she didn't want to blame anyone for the whole imbroglio.
And then we go to RN Breakfast with host Patricia Carvelis. She tried to play the game of whataboutism in her interview with former Wentworth MP and Ambassador to Israel, Dave Sharma. She tried to compare this debacle with the Coalition's decision in 2018 to recognise West Jerusalem.
So you talk about this being rushed, mishandled. Even if we were to accept your claim that it was, and some people may, that's exactly what you did, didn't you?
What was announced during the by-election campaign was a review of our policy on these settings. The decision on our policy was not taken until several months after that by-election.
Your argument doesn't stack up, given you actually did this in a very, very febrile political environment. That's how the announcement was actually made in 2018.
There it is, an ABC exercise in distraction. Credit to the Fin Review's Phil Corey for his take.
It was a case that the government was going to do this, but it's been done badly and people are feeling a little betrayed and quite angry about it this morning in that community.
Sophie Ellsworth, they've handled this appallingly, and, you know, I can't believe that Penny Wong then tried to blame everyone but herself, and then you had the ABC sort of being her chief cheerleader. What did you make of it all?
Well, are you really surprised, Peter, that the ABC's cheering on the Labor Party? I mean, this is what we're going to see more and more of, ever since they got into power. Can you imagine if the shoe was on the other foot here and it was the Coalition that handled it this way? The journalists will be coming after them. But in Australia, we have a left-leaning journalism contingency, and they're going to continue to protect the Labor Party and particularly the ABC, and that is not their job, and they should be pulled up on this. But as always, they get away with it and there's no repercussions, Peter.
Kel, your thoughts?
Well, was the decision itself a good decision or a bad decision? Israel is a democracy. In fact, it's the only democracy in the Middle East. And who decides that a democracy is not allowed to choose their own capital? I mean, that's absurd. There is a movement within the Labor Party that does not want a democratically elected Israeli government to make the decision as to what their capital city will be. And bear in mind, the Knesset has as members, I think, 21 Arab Israelis as members. There's an Arab Israeli High Court judge. It's not as though this is some sort of weird apartheid system. This is a healthy democracy. They've decided their capital is West Jerusalem. All we do, if we're making intelligent foreign affairs decisions, is say, you chosen that's your capital, that's your capital. So it was a nutty decision to begin with, and it was driven by the anti-Israeli wing of the Labor Party. And I'm going to say this is saying the unsayable. But at what point does anti-Israel, anti-Zionism become anti-Semitic? I mean, I really worry about that. We saw the British Labor Party had a problem with anti-Semitism when Jeremy Corbyn was the leader, and he wouldn't call it out, and he wouldn't tackle the people in his party being anti-Semitic. You've got to really worry why any wing of any major political party would not say, OK, that country's a democracy. They decide what their capital city is. They've decided West Jerusalem. It is. So the way it was reported reflects badly on the part of the media, as Sophie said, who wants to support the Labor Party, but it also reflects really badly on the Labor Party. So I think mess from beginning to end is the only way to... This is a dog's breakfast from beginning to end. There is nothing good or respectable about it.
And I can't believe that Penny Wong tried to suggest that the original decision was made to curry favour with the Jewish vote. I mean, there are more Jewish voters in Wentworth than any other electorate. And, of course, who did they voted against Dave Sharma, so that just didn't have any currency at all. Now,